So pink horror, what is it? It's a phrase that I've seen floating around, and it refers to horror by female writers. I think that it's an issue right now because horror is kind of a dude space, right? In some ways, unless you're talking about paranormal romance, which is something I'll get into and probably have gotten into before here. Um, you know, when people think of horror, they think of slashers and very much what I would call boy horror. And it's just a playful phrase. I obviously don't mean it completely literally. And when they think of girl horror, right, they think of paranormal romance. There is nothing wrong with romance. But I think what bothers me as a female writer who writes horror is that, yes, I am more interested in the paranormal than, just splatterpunk, which, that's just me. I'm still frustrated by the way in which kind of the top authors, when you think of horror, are still men. And we're not just talking about Stephen King. We're talking about like all the guys who, you think of when you think of horror. And I think the problematic part is that most of them are writing women, right? So they're writing women, and they're the ones we're reading, even women. And I have to say, I'm seeing most of the women in these horror spaces really go hard for men and not as hard for the women. And I think if you know me, you know that I'm the last person to say like, oh, if you're this, you should write this for a variety of reasons. But I do think we need to kind of look at the way in which we worship these men who have like, feminist narratives and characters and write women. And they honestly do it so well. Like I can't, this is why this is such a shitty thing to talk about, because these men are my peers and I really like them and I love their books and they're part of how I got into horror and they welcomed me with open arms. But we're looking at the women writers who have female characters who are also feminists, and we're kind of subgenreing them like, oh, that's not real horror, that's lady horror. And I think that's something to think about. If you want to read more about what I have to say about it and maybe a couple of articles, within an article, I did write a piece on Substack if you want to join.